Hey guys, thanks for coming. I have a few people that I wanted to talk to specifically. Daddy Casper, I actually got some artwork from you recently, and I displayed that in I displayed that in. I'm sorry,
Daddy
this is messing me
Casper.
up. I actually got some artwork from you recently. Okay, sorry, it was going in the background. Anyways, I got some artwork from you recently, and I displayed that in a video, didn't I?
Yeah.
So, was there something that you wanted to talk about specifically?
No, not really.
Okay. I haven't talked to you in voice chat before, have I?
No. I'm
Mm.
actually fairly new to it.
Okay, so what religion were you originally?
I was originally raised as a Catholic, but now I'm an atheist.
Interesting. Okay. So, how long ago did you switch to atheism? How long ago did you realize it isn't true?
I think I was 11 when I started
Wow, that's
to
young.
convert. Yeah. And I used to go to like these religion classes and like after school. And I was able to convince my grandparents to not make me go. So,
Okay, that's good. So, I guess you said your grandparents. I assume that means you lived with your grandparents, or?
no, they were the ones that were paying for the religion classes.
Got you. Okay. So, did they kind of shove it down your throat at all? Did your parents shove it down your throat, or was it pretty moderate mostly? Or
It was pretty moderate, I think, yeah. But when I told them when I came out as an atheist, they were like, "Oh, you're gonna go to hell," you know.
yeah,
But then they started easing off of that and just let me be,
well,
which
that's
is pretty.
lucky. And you said you were about 11 at the time, right?
Yeah,
Okay, that's not so bad then. You had a pretty good head start on me. I was like 21 or 22, so
yeah.
that's good though. All right, let's see. I appreciate you coming on and talking to me. Were there any interesting stories you wanted to like tell about like the religious classes or anything?
No.
Okay.
But wait. There
Mhm.
was this one class that I went to, and it was like more of like a seminar
Yeah.
at church, and they were talking about abortion, and I
Mm.
actually got to debate one of the people that were presenting,
Oh,
and I was
interesting. Okay, so I
yeah.
assume the people who were presenting were also students, or
No, they were brought in there to talk.
oh, so they
So
were adults.
yeah,
So how did the debate go? What happened?
I don't know where like I left off on it because it's been like what 4 years since I talked to him.
Right.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool, though. Hopefully, you did some good. Hopefully, you. I hope that your discourse pushed the conversation forward, at least in the minds of the other students.
yeah.
Anyway, I appreciate you coming on, and I'm gonna see if I can move on to somebody else. Let's
All
see.
right.
There was Mouse Sauce. I don't see him in here at the moment, though. So let's see. Actually, I was gonna talk to Nilatak. I think I talked to Nilatak last time, but you're on the list. So how's it going?
Hi. Can you hear me?
So I can hear you.
All right, just making sure that this is working.
It's a little bit quiet, but I can amplify it a little. If you do, you think you can turn it up a little bit?
Is this okay? Is
That's
this a
better.
little bit
Yeah,
better?
that's good.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, I talked to you last time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there was something that you wanted to talk about. Was it? Do you remember what it
Uh,
was?
it wasn't last time, but it was something that I learned shortly after, like literally minutes after the last podcast happened.
Right.
Um, so I guess I could share it now.
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
Uh,
Let's hear it.
okay, so basically how it's the story of how my mom stopped going to church, and it kind of involves me. And basically the way I found out about this was I went to my sister after the podcast was over because I wanted to talk to her about it, and she brought up a story that I didn't know, but I guess our mom had told her this.
Right.
And apparently, what happened was my parents had me before they were married. My mom was 18, my dad was 17. They hadn't graduated high school yet, and my mom, of course, decided to keep me, and she was still going to church at the time with her parents. And apparently, the reason why she stopped going to church was because the people at the church were not at all happy with her being pregnant with me.
Oh,
They
yeah.
told her that she was going to go to hell because she had premarital sex
Mm,
and that she was having a child without being married and all of this stuff.
that's messed up.
And yeah, when I found out about that, I was like, oh my God, I never knew about that. Like, I wonder why she never told me about that.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Your mom is religious, right? Still, or
Not anymore. No, she's atheist. Most
okay,
likely because of that.
okay, yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. It's because of that event, partially at least, right? That made that happen.
And my dad is also atheist. My grandparents are Christian still. They were back
Mm.
then, but they were not uh instigating the, everybody telling my mom to go to hell. They actually, tried to stand up for her, which is
Yeah,
good.
that is
But
good.
she stopped going to church because of it.
Right. Yeah, I remember when I was what, probably 18 or something. Got I got kicked out of the religion, as most people here know, and shortly thereafter, I ended up getting married to Alpha Force Zero's mom, and then at that point, I wasn't living in sin anymore, right? In Jehovah's Witnesses' eyes, and of course, I still believed it, so that was a concern to me. Like that was on my mind. I
Yeah.
don't want to be living in sin or something, and 9 months to the day after we got married, Alpha Force Zero was born. So we got married April 21st, 2007, and then, I'm sorry, 2008, my mistake, God. And then Alpha Force Zero was born January 21st, 2009. It was just like crazy timing. It was just so funny. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's an interesting story. I'm glad she's on the outside. I mean, I look at my past and
Yeah,
I
me too.
say, even the worst of it was worth it to find myself on the outside, you know?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's even though you go through a lot, at least now you're in a better place.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you talking to me again, and maybe I'll talk to you a third time, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Let's see. I was going to talk to Taper Dan Man. Are you there? You're muted if you are there, FYI. By the way, guys, I don't know if you heard, but there's a whole North Korea thing going on right now where North Korea is meeting with South Korea and all this other junk. So, yeah, I figured that's probably why the voice chat in Discord is a little bit smaller.
Can you hear me now?
Hey, yeah, I can hear you now.
Awesome.
So, I have not talked to you before, have I?
No, we had a brief DM. I sent you a DM, and that was about it. We did
Right.
chat at the Faithless Forum once.
Oh, really? You were at Faithless Forum. Wait, who were you?
I came up at the end. I'm an ex-Mormon. We
Oh,
briefly
okay.
chatted. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm glad you're on here. So, well, I guess I don't have to ask what religion you were. You were ex-Mormon. Do you want to tell me a little bit about it? Like, what was it like growing up as a Mormon?
It was normal to me. I mean, I didn't really have any major issues. And I mean, looking back, there's a lot of kind of weirder things, but
Sure.
when you don't know anything else, it's just par for the course.
Yeah.
And then starting maybe late teens and through my 20s, little things started to bother me, just with the social issues and what have you. And
Like, what kind of
just started to
social
learn
issues bothered you?
So I was in college during 2008 when Prop 8 was a thing, and the Mormon Church was pretty heavy on fighting that.
What was Prop 8
in
again?
California. That was the California law to make gay marriage legal.
Okay.
And it actually ended up failing, and the Mormon Church played a decent part decent role in that. In fact, I was at BYU at the time, and they oftentimes they would encourage the students, especially those from California, to get on the phone banks and call people and say, try to convince people to vote against it. So that, so there was that. There's definitely issues with patriarchy and how women are treated. So all those kind of, we say, added weight to my shelf.
Sure. That's fascinating. So it was but I guess a combination of the whole Prop 8 thing with the gay marriage and the social issues surrounding women and things like that, then. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, and most of those I kind of shelved and just did my best to ignore until about 10 months ago. So I, largely ignored it, but there was a point where I was actually teaching in the church. I was the teacher of a class that it was like a small group of people who only spoke French. And so I was teaching it because I speak French. And we were kind of going over the organization of the church. And one guy kind of raised his hand, and we were talking about the priesthood, which is a men-only thing. Yeah. He said, well, where's the women's priesthood? And for some reason, I don't know why it was different this time, but it kind of like everything that I had worked to do mental gymnastics about, like all this mental gymnastics to kind of justify everything, it all came crashing down. And
that's awesome. So that was what, like, that was like 10 months ago, you said, roughly?
Yeah, in about September.
That's fantastic. So what was the straw that broke the camel's back ultimately? What was the one thing? What would you say the biggest issue was that you had with the church?
Well, that kind of put me in a mind to study church history for the Mormon church.
Yeah.
And once you start digging into that rabbit hole, I'm trying to think. A couple major issues. One was the manipulation that Joseph Smith had with regards to his polygamous wives and getting wives. That was, it's really shady stuff.
Yeah, definitely is. By the way, speaking of which, have you seen the YouTube channel Brother Jake before, by chance?
Oh, yes. I've watched all of them.
Oh, yeah, me too. It's such a shame that he doesn't have, like, a bigger library, because I blew through those in, 3 hours or something. He's such an awesome YouTuber, man. I would love to collaborate with him. He's
good. He does he is part of a podcast called Infants on Thrones, which is kind of an ex-Mormon podcast. Yeah, he's one of the collaborators on that. So he's not doing all the Brother Jake. It's just kind of him shooting the breeze with some other guys. So it's not quite the same character.
What's it called again?
Infants on Thrones.
Huh. Okay, I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, it's directed towards ex-Mormons, but they have some interesting stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I've said this before. I would consider, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses and ex-Mormons something of cousins, right? Because they're similar in their extremism, and we both knocked on doors. By the way, did you go on a mission at any point?
Yes, I did. From at age 19.
Okay. So where did you go? Where did you serve your mission?
So I went to this small island in the South Pacific called New Caledonia. It's north of New Zealand.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, and it's a French territory, so that's where I learned French.
That is awesome. And I assume you were there for 2 years, right?
Yeah.
That must have been crazy.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And it was also, I don't know, looking back, I was also pretty lonely.
Even though you had a companion with you 24/7, right?
Yeah, it's definitely not
well,
I don't know.
Let me ask you this about...
There were companions I liked, but...
Right. So did you switched companions throughout, the mission, right?
Yes. I had, I don't know, off the top of my head, at least 10.
Oh,
or
wow.
more.
So they switched fairly frequently, like once every month or two then, probably, right?
Usually it's about every 3 months as a rule of thumb, but then,
Okay.
things happen and sometimes it's a little longer or shorter.
So they were with you basically 24/7, aside from like using the bathroom and stuff like that, right? Is that true or?
Yeah, pretty much. That was, yeah. You're
Sounds
always
like
together,
an intense
so
time, man.
it definitely was.
Well,
I would not be able to do it now.
right. Well, I'm glad you found your way out, and I'm glad you found your way to Faithless Forum and this community in general. That's good.
Yeah, it's been a large help to me in the last few months. So
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and I
thanks
think
for having me.
for sure. Maybe we can talk about this again.
Sure.
Okay. I was looking for Mossos, but I don't see him on here at the moment. So let me just see. I was going to unmute Fenrir, the God Eater.
Thank you.
So I have actually seen you in the comment section of John Cedar's channel and a few other places. How's it going?
Sorry, I was doing something. I'm good.
No problem. So yeah, you're like in this community, aren't you? Were you ex-Jehovah's Witness or?
I am.
That's cool. How old are you now? How long you been out?
I'm 27, and it hasn't even been a year really since I've been out.
That's interesting. I know that the hardest years to get through are your teen years. And once you hit, if you make it to, say, 21, 22, you're probably not making it out. So it's impressive that you found your way out when you did, because that's rough. I know it's rough. So how did you find your way out?
I had enough, basically.
Right.
Of everything. It was during, I had been inactive, or I have been inactive for about 3 years as a Jehovah's Witness.
Right.
My mom died a few years ago, and that kind of put me in a bigger depression than I already had been in. So I took a step back from basically being a JW.
Right. And that was what, a few years ago, you said? Like 3 years or so?
2014, yes.
Okay. So your mom dies in 2014, and that's when you started stepping back from it a little bit, right?
Yeah, and I had always had problems with the organization and stuff, but
oh yeah,
I had
like
always been
what?
able to reindoctrinate myself.
From
Basic
2014.
stuff that, yeah.
Okay.
Basic things that any teenager would have a problem with, not being able to date or have friends outside of the organization and stuff like that, and not being able to get a real education. But I've been able to, compartmentalize so much. But after that whole thing with my mom happened, and having a pretty difficult marriage,
right,
I was able to snap out of it after going to the last year's regional convention.
Okay. So what?
Yeah, I sat through all 3 days of them, and what got me the most were the videos of Remember the Wife of Lot.
Okay, I know the one you're talking about now.
Yeah, I watched them in pure amazement, and they made me so angry.
Yeah.
And it made me so angry. I stewed over it for a few days, and so I was like, I have to hear someone else's opinion on this. There has to be someone on the outside that thinks this is crazy just as much as I do. And I stumbled upon John Cedar's review of the convention, and I never looked back from
That's
then
awesome.
on.
So what was it about, like, the Remember the Wife of Lot that got you the most? I'm trying to remember what was in it. I remember it was like all about the woman's uncle and how he was rich, and the girl was going to she's going to college, and she worked at like a pharmaceutical company, right? And then they gave everything up, everything for Jehovah.
Right.
Was there
I guess the portrayal of, quote, worldly people was what got me and really irritated me.
Sure.
With, the woman's uncle and the girl's coworkers and stuff like that, how they portrayed the supposed liberal girl who was trying to stand up for gay people and stuff like that. And I just thought to myself, this is absolutely ridiculous, and this is not how real life is.
Right.
And this is just pure propaganda.
Yeah. I actually did a debunk of that myself. If you remember, there was a bit in Remember the Wife of Lot where she was at the pharmaceutical company doing her work, and her coworkers came home with her to meet her parents or something, and there's that really aggressive girl whose parents were gay.
Like she's Antifa or some shit.
Yeah. And so, anyway, I do that video, and then YouTube shut it down for hate speech.
Oh, my God.
So,
wow.
Yeah. I didn't know that it was hate speech to call out other people's hate speech, but I guess it is. I'll be more careful. Anyway.
That's crazy.
Oh, that's good, though. I'm glad you made your way out. I think my sister got out at the same time as me. I was about 21, 22 when I stopped believing, and she's 12 years older than me, so she was 33 or 34, probably 33.
Wow.
So, you've got a leg up on her at the very least. That's 5 years of your life that you've got back, and we can just start fresh here and move forward. Things get a lot better.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It feels like huge weight is off my shoulders.
Yeah. I do. I know
not
the
having
feeling.
To tiptoe around things.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and maybe we can talk again, okay?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right.
Alrighty, later.
Okay, I was going to talk to Mossos, but it looks like he is occupado. I was also going to talk to Teal, but I don't see Teal in here anywhere. Sorry, guys. I know that there's a big, long silence. You're just going to have to bear with me for a second. Okay. I'm going to unmute Matthew. Are you there, Matthew?
Here.
So, I don't remember if we've spoken on the podcast before, have we?
Nope.
I didn't think so. What religion did you grow up as? Are you still religious?
I wouldn't necessarily consider myself religious. Well, I'm technically what is referred to as a pagan atheist.
Okay. So tell me about that. Like, what does that entail?
If I'm going to get down to it, the pagan things that I end up doing are pretty damn basic. I'm sorry, am I allowed to swear?
I'm sorry? Say again? Oh, yeah, it's fine. You can swear.
The things are pretty damn basic. Usually they're, like, the stuff that I do in specific is I go to the once a year thing group of people who are also pagans, but I do herbal stuff, which means that I mostly make teas.
Okay.
And I guess in some sense I believe in magic, but it's not like this crazy, ooh, look at the beautiful sparkles kind of thing. It's just like, hey, can do cause and effect shit. But
right.
In any case, start off as
You're
pagan,
breaking up a little bit there. Sorry, I missed that last sentence. What was that?
didn't start off as pagan. I started off as Catholic.
Okay. So, okay, wow, there's a lot of interesting stuff in this that I want to dissect. So, first, I'll just ask you about Catholicism real quick, and then we'll talk a little more about the paganism. Um, when did you get out of Catholicism? How long ago?
Technically speaking, okay, if we want to talk about like when I decided I was going to stop going to church, it was probably around the age of 14.
Okay.
And I got lucky because both of my parents are scientifically minded and
Oh, good.
they urged me to go to church, but they didn't force me to.
Right. Okay,
But
so
if we're going to talk about like excommunication or some shit, like I still haven't been excommunicated. So
oh wow. So I guess you so 14 years old you kind of walked away from it and they didn't really bother you after that. They didn't really try to, I don't know, excommunicate you or anything like that? Are you there? I think I lost you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
What ended up happening was around, I would say I was maybe 12, I got involved with this online group, and they were my first foray into paganism before I decided to do my own paganism. And time and the age of 14, I started questioning things.
Okay.
And one of the things that got me was there's this program that you have to go to every week. It's called CCD. I can't remember what it stands for, but it's basically like Sunday school.
Okay.
And for 2 weeks straight, like, and by that I mean like 2 sessions. For 2 weeks straight, I argued with my teacher about.
I'm sorry.
And when I got done,
I lost you for a second. You argued with your teacher about what?
used.
Oh, okay. Go on.
When that happened was I really started questioning it because it came down to having to call the priest in, and the priest explained that the reason why is it takes the procreative aspect. It takes the procreated aspect out of the act of sex.
Okay, I see. I think I lost you for a second there. Go on.
I'm so sorry about my thing. My brother's playing
fine.
Fortnite downstairs.
It's fine. We'll just take one step at a time.
Okay. Then I decided that I was going to actually, start thinking for myself. I actually pulled this up because I figured at some point I was going to be pardon me if I use the phrase, but called on by you.
Oh, okay. No problem.
The thing is that what got me completely out of it was there was this day where we were talking about if there, say, was a murderer in your house.
Right.
My teacher was making the implication that the moral thing to do was to the kids and not fight back, and I made a case against that. And I still have he gave me the Bible, my copy of the New American Translation, and he cited it from Numbers 35, and I have it here.
Okay.
Cited it from Numbers 35 that you should not fight back. And it was basically this thing about like you shouldn't spill blood because then God is going to spill your blood.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Right. Interesting.
That was when I said enough is enough.
Right. Yeah. I'm glad you finally, got to that point. And actually, I was going to ask you a little bit more about your paganism. So you were saying that you're more interested in the cause and effect aspect of it. Do you feel like there is cause and effect to it? Do you feel like you can control things through your spells and things like that?
Try to focus on is stuff within myself, and this means that a lot of the stuff I focus on is grounding and just becoming more aware of my surroundings. And when it comes down to the more cause and effect things, I think the best example that I have is I'm currently burning a candle that I've given a specific intention of it basically being, hey, my fiance to get a job.
Right.
I personally don't always expect the candle to work, but it's always a nice little oomph.
Right. I can understand where you're coming with that. So you don't always expect it to work, but you expect that some of the time it will work. Is that a fair assessment?
What's funny is that I've actually taken on a very you could say a very scientific method of it, and what I mean by that is that when I write down stuff that I'm going to be doing, I write the conditions of what's going on in the environment. I write down what I'm doing. I write down the results, things like that.
So what have the results been? Have you seen your wishes come true, quote unquote, more often than not, or?
It's an interesting thing because I've actually seen, there are a lot of different types of things you can work with, and I've actually seen it more when I do things that aren't related to, I guess, my version of magic and more related to more traditional things. Like, for example, I have a couple, basically these figures, and they have blank eyes. You're supposed to fill in one when you have your wish, and you're supposed to fill in the other one when that wish is fulfilled. I have had 2 Dharma that have been filled already.
Okay. That is very interesting.
It's both an act of
what is it?
Luck and of perseverance, though, because they were based on, I need to get out of this house.
Yeah.
And I need to get my associates, and I got both of those. So.
Okay, that's good. I would actually like to talk to you about this a little bit more, possibly the next time, because there are a lot of questions I have about this. Actually,
yeah, that's all right. I do have to let you know though that I'm actually working Sunday night, so
that's too
might
bad.
have to be on Thursday.
Okay, that's fine. I'll put you on the list for Thursday. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right. Thanks for talking to me. So, I just wanted to mention real quick before I talk to anybody else that I currently answer all DMs that come to me. I don't know how long I'll be able to do that. It depends on how big I get and how fast, but currently I do. So, send me a message if you guys want to talk. Send 6-bit a message if you want to talk to me on the podcast. And I'll be available through DMs basically anytime. So, okay, let's see. Just looking for the next person. I was going to talk to P-Funk. Are you there, P-Funk?
Yes, I am.
We talked last time, didn't we?
Yes, we did. We talked about just kind of random things about how I was Catholic,
Right. So, did you have something specific you wanted to cover? You just want to chat again?
No, for any of you on the podcast, this time I have something special.
Okay.
To talk. I brought my religion notebook from school, and it has all of this random stuff that I've just been compiling over the course of the year.
All right. Well, let's have some.
This notebook. So, all right. First of all, I just wanted to look at this. This is like what they call like the soul and the will and stuff. How they define what separates humans from other animals and kind of things like that.
Okay.
So there's this model of my priest who comes in the class on Thursdays drew this last Thursday, and he said, right here. Where is it? It's here. Okay, so every animal, according to him, has like emotions and guts. That's how he phrased it. Every animal has emotions and guts.
Emotions and guts. And by the way, if there's something you want me to put up for like the people on the stream to see, then just put the picture in voice chat and I will I'll put it up on the stream.
You
don't have to. That's fine if you don't have anything. But go on. So he said animals have emotions and guts?
Yes, that's how he phrased it. And then he elaborated a bit and he said feelings, desires, bodily functions, things like that.
God, I would love to just like ask him questions about that. There's just so many holes in that.
Yeah, it's a bit flawed. So that's what every animal has, right?
Right.
So then he goes on and says that humans, like angels and all the things in heaven, have two other things that make them different from all other animals. First of all, there's a will. So the will is basically the will to find truth and to live.
Right.
Which is like animals also will, which is dumb.
Right. They can make decisions. They have what one would call free will, I guess, if you believe in that anyways, right?
Yes, yeah. So, yeah, the will is one part, and he pointed to the heart when he said that. That's just dumb.
Right,
Secondly,
as opposed to the brain.
Yes, but I think he did this as a symbolic thing because the next thing that makes humans different is the intellect.
Okay.
So humans have the ability to rationalize and think about, like, focus in on one thing, and they can plan and they can look ahead in the future.
Right.
And things like that. And they can also remember things a lot really easily.
Right. And you know what I find interesting about that is the fact that animals can look ahead they can look ahead into the future and they can remember things too. Sure, it's to a lesser degree sometimes. And maybe some of them don't have object permanence, others do. Babies don't have object permanence, but adults do, things like that. The line between animal and human is a lot more gray than people want to think it is, and Christians want to think it is.
Yeah, they want to separate the chosen race from everything else.
Yeah.
Make it special.
Yeah.
So the analogy he used is that if you dangle a steak over a pit, a human's going to look down and say, wow, those spikes are going to kill me. But then a dog would just leap off the cliff and kill itself.
Right. Okay.
And that's a terrible analogy because animals have a fear of heights naturally. So when he saw that cliff coming, he'd probably stop and look down.
Certainly.
Which is, yes. So that's a really
They
big
just
flaw.
make claims like that without thinking whether or not they're true. They sound true, so they say them a lot of the time.
Exactly. That's exactly what Catholicism is. It's making something sound true so that Catholicism sounds right.
Yeah.
And so he said that combined intellect and will create the soul. Now, the moment he said this, I thought of a really funny thing. So apparently humans have a soul because they have intellect and will, and animals don't because they don't have intellect or will. We've already established that animals, like dogs and cats, have a will to live, correct?
Sure.
So they have wills, and they are also able to form rational thoughts, like keeping themselves alive. But
and
then
plan ahead.
Yes, but the Catholics can't rationalize their own beliefs. So Catholics have no souls and animals do.
There you go. That's one conclusion.
Yes. Do you have a little bit more time? Because there's
I do. Yeah, I got a
quick
little
thing.
bit more time.
Okay, so the second thing, I think I accidentally wrote it down on the wrong notebook today, but I do remember what it was. It's an acronym called HABITS. The moment I heard that, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good.
Right.
So basically it stands for, let me try to remember, it stands for holy hour, accountability, Bible reading, what is I? I don't remember what I is. No, invest in the parish. T is, can't remember, and S is something else.
Okay, so
Sacraments.
I've got holy hour,
Sacraments.
accountability, Bible reading, invest in the parish, and then what was S?
S is sacraments.
Sacraments.
So basically, these are these 6 things that you have to do to be a good Catholic, according to him.
And one of those things is give us money, obviously. Invest in the
Yeah.
parish. You have to give them
Yes.
money to be a good Catholic.
Yeah, and also like time and talent, things that could be used doing actual things in the world.
Sure.
Give those to us, because then Christ will become sooner. I don't know.
You know,
But-
it feels to me, as a side note here, that if God wanted money, he could just conjure it up. I don't know why he needs my money.
Oh, but he's too prudent for that.
Right.
We can't do
Right.
that. That mess up the government, which he follows.
Yeah.
All right. So he tried to justify God by saying, "Oh, God pays taxes. God
Okay.
listened to Pontius Pilate."
Okay.
So H is holy hour. Basically, pray an hour a day.
Jeez,
pretty
that's
much
a
all
lot
it
of
is.
praying. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Isn't it where Catholics have like they have like unique prayers that you just recite over and over? It's the same prayer.
Yeah. It's the Hail Mary. Hail
Right.
Mary. It's called the Rosary. It's basically, there's a weird pattern to it that's hard to remember, but it's like there's a few prayers that you say at the beginning, then you repeat the Hail Mary 10 times, then you say a longer prayer, 10 times longer prayer, 10 times longer prayer, 10 times longer prayer, 10 times, and then you finish that weird pattern. At the
God,
beginning.
and you touch one bead each prayer, right, or something?
Each Hail Mary, yeah, you touch the bead, and there's 50 on the Rosary, and it takes about an hour to pray it through church.
That is, I talked about this actually in one of my videos. That is a cult tactic. Seriously,
Yes.
that is a cult tactic. Whether people like that or not, that's what it is. Trying to
The way
numb
it's a
your
cult
brain.
is because people inside like doing that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They don't have a problem with that. They're like, oh, let's get closer to Jesus
Yep.
and sit. And here's the thing: the worst part about it is that you have to kneel the whole time.
Ugh.
So there were kids like a few weeks ago. We had to do it just because it was a special day,
Yeah.
and there were like 5 first graders that fainted during the thing.
God, just from like kneeling for so long, huh?
Yeah, and no one did anything. Well, okay, some people did something about it, but there was only like one person, and
That
everyone else
is
just kept.
abuse, if I've ever heard it. You know, making a kid stay in a position for so long that they pass out. That is straight up abuse, and it's excused because it's religious.
Yes, it's just messed up.
It
It's
is.
corrupt. Okay, quickly just go through because
Sure.
we spent a lot more time than I thought. A, accountability. Basically, have a friend that will rat you out if you do something wrong, which is, again,
That's another
kind
cult
of
tactic.
Yeah, like the Jehovah's Witness thing
Yeah.
that you were talking about, like your friend saw.
I have the
telling
bite
on
model
you.
up. We'll get to the rest of
Yes.
those. Don't worry. I just want to point
And
this
then-
out. I have the bite model up here, and that is under. Wait a minute.
Behavior control, probably.
Maybe I'm looking at the list right now. Oh, I don't see it. Emotional control, I think, actually.
Maybe, yeah.
But anyway, okay, go on.
Okay. B, what did we say it was? Bible
It was
reading.
Bible reading, yeah.
Another behavior
Yeah.
thing, because basically, while you're praying, read the Bible, study it, make sure you know it.
Yep.
I invest in parish. Give us our money. Give us your time.
Yep.
It's that. Try to remember what T was.
Time. Or I assume time. Give us your time.
No, that was just invest in parish. What's
Oh, okay.
T? Okay, I wish I wrote it in the right notebook. What was T? Okay, move on. S, sacraments. Basically, immerse yourself in our faith. It's beautiful. Do all these great things.
Yeah, I'm trying
And
to
then-
understand that. So sacraments, the word itself basically means what? Just holy objects? Is that?
Okay, have you studied Catholicism like this? Or,
A little
far
bit,
in
enough to
depth?
make a couple of videos on it, and that was fairly
Mhm.
extensive. But
Well, basically, sacraments are just, as it's defined by the Catholic Church, outpouring of God's grace.
okay,
So when you participate in a sacrament, you get a outpouring of God's grace into
Right.
your soul. And there are 7 of them,
Oh, okay.
different ones. Lutherans only have 2, I think, and other things don't even have them, but Catholics have 7.
Wow, I need to look
And
this up. I didn't even know that. Interesting.
it's like marriage, Eucharist, communion.
Right.
That's the same thing.
Huh.
Confession, like
So I
holy
guess
orders.
the S means just follow the sacraments, like confess
Yes, like
and things like
regularly do those things.
that. Okay.
Be of Christ. Be one with Christ.
That is
And
so
just
interesting.
completely not only do that, but like make that a regular part of your life. And it's a habit. That whole acronym is habit. So it's basically telling you, do this, please. We want
Constantly.
you here.
Yeah.
Just always in your mind, just always thinking about it.
Yeah.
Being
They
this
want to
mindset.
they want you to completely wrap your life around their religion.
Yeah, depending upon just words and actions for your
Yeah.
whole sanity. It must suck if you're like 60 and you realize it's wrong. You just wasted your whole life pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yep. I know. I mean, like I said, I actually got out of it when I was I stopped believing it when I was like 21 or 22, and I feel like I wasted those years of my life. But all you can do is move on, right?
Yeah, but what else do you have to move on to when you're 60? You know?
I know.
Like
Yeah.
it's near the end of your life. You don't have much.
Golden years, that's what. Go
Yeah, it's
golfing
like-
and don't go to church anymore, for one thing. I I actually have a friend who's fairly recently stopped going to church, and he was doing a lot for that church. Like, he was live streaming their stuff and all this stuff, and now he's starting to realize he doesn't really believe it anymore, and he has to find a way to gracefully back out of all of this time and work he's been putting into it without upsetting them. That must really suck.
Or maybe he could say like, "Oh, I'm moving to a different area," and then just completely.
Yeah, that's true. Do it Jehovah's Witness style, right?
Yeah,
Like faders
just-
do.
Yes.
Anyway.
Well, yeah. There are some other things, but they take a lot more time. It's talking about like existence and
Right? It was pretty
virtue.
interesting, actually.
Yeah.
If you're interested, I may have you on another one. Would that be good? You want to do that?
Yeah, that'd be
Come
fine.
on
That'd
another
be
one?
cool.
Okay.
If you really want me to, at the end of the year, I could mail it to you.
All right. That would be cool. Or just
I
photocopy it or something. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I have a marking in here somewhere. Yeah, it's somewhere on page like 20, and I marked this on the page, an empty page. This is around the time I became atheist.
Oh.
So you can see like the change in how I phrased my journalings and things.
Oh,
Because before
awesome.
then, there's like journals that you have to do, and I would like put my whole heart into it. I would be like, Jesus is amazing, and
Yeah.
Jesus teach Jesus and be a preacher.
That
And then,
is
like, after that
awesome.
point,
Yeah.
And then after that point, I let me just find a journal of one thing. I'm talking about like academia when
Yeah.
it's supposed to be about like how Jesus helps you learn. I'm just talking about the learning, like deliberately avoiding talking about Jesus.
Yeah. That is so fantastic. It's like you can see your mind changing on the page. That's pretty cool.
I found the actual habits part. I guess I put it on the page before then.
What was it?
The T is tell others.
Oh my God. There's
others.
another marker.
Bravely tell others your faith and invite others to it. Be a warrior for Christ's mission. It's painting your mission as like a war against everyone else.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Mormons
It's
do
like-
that. Jehovah's Witnesses do that. They all do that. Freaking crazy, man.
Yeah, it's like it's us versus them. Like you said in
Yep.
your recent video a few hours ago. It's
Yep.
like you have to fight for this because it's true and everyone else thinks it's false. Atheists are attacking us, just like how the Romans persecuted us thousands of years ago. Got to battle.
Yep.
It's just
It's that mindset. It's that us versus them mindset. Also, I appreciate you coming on and talking to me. Hopefully we'll talk again next
Yeah, that'd
time
be
or the
great.
time after that, okay?
Yep. Yeah, I've taken up a bit of your time.
Oh,
so-
you're good. It was really interesting.
Yes, thank you. I'll have this notebook for you some other time.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, goodbye.
Yeah, it is that us versus them mindset that he was talking about. The bite model here has that in it, under thought control. Instill black versus white, us versus them, good versus evil thinking. They treat it like a war. They treat it like it's like they're fighting a battle. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a Mormon video about, let's say this as gracefully as I can, teens touching themselves. And yeah, it was actual battle imagery. Oh, I'm not gonna go to YouTube. I don't know what's on there. I'll just tell you to go look at it. I've debunked it before. You guys have probably seen it, but yeah, it's fascinating to see that mindset develop in somebody or exhibit itself in a group of people. So, thanks for coming on. Let's see. I was going to talk to... I have a list of 4 people I was going to get to, but I don't think they're on here. Okay. All right, in that case, I'm actually going to unmute Oriax. Are you there, Oriax?
Yes.
How's it going? We haven't talked on voice chat before, have we?
We have. It was just very short.
Oh, okay. You weren't on the podcast, though. Were you? Okay. Okay, didn't think so. So tell me, what religion did you grow up as?
I was originally a Methodist Christian.
Oh, really? That one is generally viewed as, at least by me, as fairly moderate. Did your parents shove it down your throat? Was it kind of oppressive to you, or was it pretty moderate?
Yeah, to a degree, but it was more of very subtle things. They would try and just try to get me, especially once I figured out I was an atheist, at least at the time.
Sure.
They tried to push it back down my throat.
Sure. I've mentioned this before, but Alpha Force Zero goes to a Methodist church, and I was just at her great-grandma's house, who's super religious, doesn't believe in evolution, or doesn't accept evolution, actually. Evolution's something you accept, not something you believe. That aside, she told me that, I mean, it's never been a problem because she's a sweet lady, you know? She's not mean. She doesn't hate gay people. She doesn't hate anybody for anything, generally. But she... yeah, she just told me earlier that they're having a church camp thing happening at the end of July, and she wants Alpha Force Zero to go for a week to church camp. And that is a full-blown indoctrination session.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I'm really not... I don't want to tell her that I'm an atheist. She doesn't really know. She wouldn't hate me for it, but I just don't want to hurt her, you know? So anyway, I don't know. What do you think of it?
With that, that's part of the thing. I believe my parents had said this is before they knew, of course, I was atheist again. But they had said, well, we could send you off to church camp or whatever like that. And I was just like, that just sounds terrible.
Yeah.
And I learned generally from it is that from other friends and stuff, they take you up to this place where it's extremely spiritual, and you're in this bunk place with for a week plus, where it's all you do is just basically read the Bible and just do nothing else. And
yeah,
I'm like, that just sounds boring and just indoctrinating and just all this. And it's part of the reason why I don't tell my parents certain things, especially about my current religion and other stuff with status.
Are you still kind of dependent on your parents by chance, or are you out on your own?
I am dependent on them currently, yes.
That's
but
right.
Yeah. I do have plans to get away from them, and if they did find out by some other means than me telling them, I would have a backup plan.
Okay, that's not so bad then, I guess. Is your aunt non-religious also, or just not crazy about it, or?
Family?
Yeah, you said you had an aunt that lets you get away from them, right? A little bit.
I have a grandma. She's going a little crazy because she's that old. She's slowly losing her mind. But yeah, just in general, she generally is pretty like okay with stuff. There are some family I do tell, but
Sure.
there are some religious, like really religious, like Catholics. I had brought up something. I had slipped up actually at a family greeting and or something, and said something about God or something, and my dad's half is extremely Catholic, like devoutly Catholic, and it's very apparent.
Right.
And I had an uncle or something. Oh, I thought he was gonna punch me. I mean,
Really?
he went off the deep end, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna change the subject.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
People get crazy about it. And I have an idea as to why they get crazy about it. And I think it's because a lot of the time you have some kind of a traumatic event happen, like a family member dies or something like that, and you just throw yourself into religion. And I think that a lot of the time it's obviously a coping mechanism. And when you challenge that, I think that people feel like you're challenging. I feel like sometimes they're saying, "Are you telling me that my mother's dead?" Like they're for the first time they're having to accept these traumatic events happened. Like religion is allowing them to stay in denial about it, and by you challenging that, it's like you're forcing them to come out of that denial, and that's why I think people are so defensive, I guess, about it. That's just a hypothesis. So.
Yeah, I have another theory as well.
Sure.
Is that whenever do you know the concept of the self in like philosophy?
The concept of self?
Yeah.
You mean the sense of self? I may. Go ahead and tell me.
It's like this, like what you define as what is you, like what makes you human per se.
Sure. Okay.
And for theists, a lot of times, or just Christians in general, let's just say, they particularly take the self and they remove it. They basically put it into the collective and just say, well, I'm part of God. I'm part of his.
Sure.
I'm his sheep. I'm his shepherd. And all that. And they make it out to be like they are God. That they are one with God, and it's really weird.
It is.
It's like whenever you talk bad about God, then it's just a denial of their self, and that's when they get really angry.
Yeah. Interesting that you say that, actually, because you may have heard of this study, but there was a study done where they put people under an fMRI to see what parts of their brains lit up when asked certain questions, right? And when asked questions about what somebody else thought about something, like what do Republicans think about abortion? Or what do Democrats think about taxes or whatever else? They would explain what they thought, and a certain part of their brain would light up. But then when they were asked, what do you think of that issue? A different part would light up. So one part of your brain lights up for opinions that other people have, and another part lights up for opinions you have. And when asked about the Bible or God's opinions on things, their part, like the part of their brain that identifies as what they think, always lit up, not what somebody else thought, interestingly enough. So that means they think... it basically means that what they believe is what God believes. They're projecting God's viewpoint, or they're projecting their viewpoints onto God's viewpoints. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I believe one of the things, especially with religion, is you have to be careful with who picks what religion and why, because usually it's real when someone is, at least in my opinion, extremely like devout, and you're not going to get them to change. It's that they either have created it, or they completely already had ascribed to those beliefs. And pure belief, whether it's atheistic or with any kind of actual God, would be, well, I've been so convinced that there's no other way I can see reality. And there are people like that. I think I'm one of them, surprisingly.
Right. That is interesting. You consider yourself one.
I'm aware that it just like I could go back to being an atheist, but it's just like I don't see it being possible.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I really don't think that it's possible. And by the way, at the end of the podcast, I always unmute everybody, so I'm going to start doing that. But yeah, I agree with you. It's really not possible. So I don't know that I would call myself an anti-theist outright. I would definitely call myself an atheist, but anti-theists have the burden of proof in that whole thing. And I don't need to claim that he doesn't exist because it's not my responsibility. But on another note, I really can't see how it's possible at all.
I'm one of those people who would say that it is completely, at least within people's rights to tear down organized religion. But that's extremely controversial, of course.
Yeah, I don't know that I would want to ban anybody or any religion or anything. I think that freedom is important, but I feel like if we fought their ideas, we would be better off. I feel like we'd make more progress that way, because
I'm on right now.
banning their religion will just cause a backfire effect and strengthen this whole. It'll just strengthen this whole persecution complex they have going on. Anyway, thanks for coming, guys. I appreciate it, and I will talk to you on Sunday. I'm not sure what time yet. I'll announce it.
Talk more details.